So just to demonstrate a quick look into the application. So this is kind of an interface that we've built to quickly give you a glimpse of how the APIs can be utilized in terms of quickly authenticating and the kind of breadth of coverage of the authentications that we have through Total KYC. So if you look at it, it's primarily through the application. You can authenticate information or KYC about any type of entity that you might have or walk in as a customer. It would be individual, proprietary concern, partnership, LLPs, companies, or any one of those. And basically authenticate most of the documents on the go. So if I were to just show you a quick representation of the kind of coverage, it loads up. So for a company, you have the PAN, SIN numbers, VAT, CST, profession tax, import, export, service tax. Be it from an individual perspective, you can have anything from, if you just say here, PAN, Aadhaar, driving license, voter's ID. Even when you're going for the rural population and you have to onboard them quickly, you have even access to authenticate Manrega job cards or ration cards on the go, so that you can have much faster onboarding in terms of that. And it not only just authenticates the KYC documents, but it also fetches the corresponding data available around them, so you can quickly even check whether, when I'm representing here Karza Technologies, whether the PAN that is given, whether it is of the same company, is it at the same address, whether the credentials are the same and they are valid as on a particular date. Now, the second biggest advantage that this also gives, which currently you have, is in terms of re-KYC. I don't mean e-KYC, but I mean re-KYC. When you have to revisit the KYC documents of your customers on a periodic basis every 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, how do you re-authenticate all of them? Once the information is digitized, you can even bulk process all of these and ensure that the KYC documents of all your customers are live and basically valid as on the date that you're looking into it. Now, the further value add that you have from this is, first of all, given the APIs, you can integrate easily with the current processes. This can integrate on your online applications portal, through your mobile apps, through your core banking systems, wherever there is customer onboarding, they can be authenticated quickly. Second one is centralized monitoring. At the head office, sitting at the central monitoring team, you can today then using this, you can say or monitor the KYC compliances across your bank, across various branches. And so that is where basically today you don't have a centralized view. Today you have to depend upon concurrent auditors to do a sample check and ensure that whether all the accounts have complied with the KYC regulations, or all possible documents have been collected or not. And this is what it basically gives you. And second thing is the KYC authentication, re-authentications of KYC documents on a periodic basis. And all of this at a fraction of cost. Now, so this is where I'd like to also touch upon, is the overall topic was payments and remittances and how do we fit into that, is with the increasing pace of payments and remittances that's happening around, the pace and the security at which is happening, you also need an equally faster and easier and robust onboarding mechanism and credit appraisal mechanism, so that the customer gets the access to the money as well as the service at any point of time whenever he needs it, and the money is available for him to initiate the transactions at the point when he has. It could be when you're shopping online, you just want to check out loan. Whether
you have a minute to wrap up.
Yeah. So whether you are at a POS terminal, whether you are at a bank, wherever you are, or even in your wallet, when you quickly want to onboard yourself on a wallet, or be it a credit card transaction, because today even credit cards take about a week for you to issue that card to you, which can be done or sped up much faster. The additional technologies further in that is also the OCR, where you can just take a snap of the document, you're onboarded. So that's the kind of pace I'm talking about here, where a faster payment system is supported by an equally faster onboarding and assessment mechanism.
Okay, judges, over to you.
Yeah.
So most of the service providers, like let's say NSDL, are providing direct APIs for the PAN verification, right? So more and more, so people will keep opening up their databases, right? So what will be the relevance of Karza in that? Yeah, going forward. That's one.
So one, sure.
And the second point is about the the databases, like let's say voter ID or DL. what are the accuracy levels of once you authenticate, because there are a lot of imperfections in these databases itself, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the first part that you mentioned about each department opening up their database. Now that is one of the core issues that you have in India, is that each government database is coming up with their own set of information. They have their own websites or they give out their own APIs. Now, for banks or financial institutions, when you're taking a decisions, you imagine the amount of integrations that you have to do across various departments to source from each person, because each department again will have a specific set of data. How do you connect it all together to create a holistic profile of an individual or a business and make sense out of it? So that is where the challenge, the Karza comes into place. How do you stitch everything together at a single place? Now, for individuals, you have, say, an Aadhaar, which is getting integrated with most of the places where you have to submit your Aadhaar for your PAN, or link it to your EPF, or you link it to your ESIC IDs or anywhere. But still, to the technology to bring them all together, all information at a singular place, that becomes a challenge. And second one is the reliability or the authenticity of the data is primarily because what we believe is government is the best source or the most reliable source of information rather than anything else apart from social media or anything other than that. And so if the information is sourced directly from the government itself, that gives the reliance in terms of that. And second is from the other side, as you rightly pointed, they're still updating their databases from their end. So it may not be 100% coverage today, but over a period of time, you have the 100% coverage that will come into play. Because when you mentioned driving licenses, now the thing is you have the chip-based licenses today, but still people carry around the paper-based or the booklet licenses, which is a long way to digitize that thing.
My question is that, see, KYC is a horizontal process, right? What we are talking about, innovation in payments and remittances, is something which I could not find out from a solution.
Okay.
You're talking about a horizontal process, but not about the verticals that we are talking about. So how do you think this is going to enable these two verticals?
Okay.
While I understand you spoke about speed and other processes. So that point I'm not able to understand with respect to the challenge.
Sure. So what I mentioned about was that in order to use a service of a remittance, or I want to transact, so payments and remittance, if I want to buy, say, a laptop on a particular portal, or I'm going to a particular shop and I want to swipe my card and use that, and all of that. So, but the thing is, in order to enable for me to use those services, there are wallets today where I can just connect and basically remit 20,000 or so. But in order for me to enable for me to use that, today there's a lot of manual process going on. In terms of basically a person will come to you, will collect the documents, will verify, then after 7 days you have the access to that. But when I'm transacting, say, on an online portal, all right, I want to get a quick EMI against that. I need the money to me in order to enable that particular transaction, or in order to remit that particular money through my wallets or through a bank account. I'm enabling that process of you getting on board that service faster in order to use that, right?
Sorry, can you explain that OCR-based authentication you said?
Yeah. So OCR-based authentication is primarily where you have to just take a snap of the document, where we are enabling even quick photographs of your PAN, Aadhaar, passport, driving license. You can just quickly take a snap. It reads the document. It authenticates from the government source whether it is genuine or not, and then it passes along. So even you don't have to fill up the forms. You just have to submit or upload an image of your document. It can read through it, auto-populate the form, bases the document, and authenticate it simultaneously.
Okay, do you use it for your central monitoring, you said? I mean, central monitoring of bulk KYC you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So do you use OCR for that?
So that is also possible through the OCR, so where you have a bulk of documents that...
No, do you currently use OCR for that?
No, so that is something which is from the digitized data. So, but we are working with one of the banks in order to even process the bulk documentation and read it and then process it in bulk.
Okay, thank you.
So you mentioned that you have the OCR authentication, right? So what kind of accuracy you have on the documents?
So accuracy in terms of is we have fairly high accuracy in terms of Aadhaar and passport.
Any number value?
Number value in terms of percentage, I would say around 80 to 90% accuracy in terms of the data that we get. Aadhaar is much better because whatever we read also we quickly reconfirm with the QR code that's on the Aadhaar. So QR code gives a much better output as compared to the data on top of it. Where we have a low percentage is in terms of voters ID, where there are a lot of still voters ID out there in vernacular languages. So that's one part of the OCR which reduces in terms of the accuracy of me reading it. But on the other side, PAN, Aadhaar, and passport is where we have fairly good accuracy in terms of 80 to 90%.
It seems to me that you've got a small window of opportunity which you're trying to now capitalize. I'm not seeing this as a sustainable business because there are a lot of systems in the mix here. And just KYC is not the only thing. There's AML. KYC itself is evolving. The regulation is evolving. Banking systems and payments provider systems are also evolving. So where do you see this business grow in the next 3 to 4 years? Is this really a sustainable business, or it's just going to other systems that are just going to quietly and slowly occupy the space over the next 3 years?
All right. So I agree with your point in terms of the KYC. If I were to say where is the future lies for Karza, is the network graph that you see, where we are collating information about multiple businesses and individuals across about 700 different sources. KYC is just a small part of it, right? So where you're looking at a holistic picture in terms of litigations, in terms of defaults, whether in terms of statutory defaults, it be banking channels and all of that. And when you're looking at this information over a period of time, so that is where the network as well as the predictive part comes into play.
Sure.
Where
Are we judging total KYC, or are we judging Karza?
total KYC, right? But Karza this is what the future is. So KYC is just first stepping stone, and it builds into the entire network, where you have the entire predictive algorithms coming to predict defaults and delinquencies even before they have occurred.
Okay, so there are a lot of players who are trying to create a mark in this area of customer onboarding, especially in terms of KYC. So how are you different from them?
So the first differentiator that immediately comes to me is the kind of breadth of coverage in terms of the amount of documents that you have that you can use. Because RBI's list is around 20-25 different documents that you have are acceptable as KYC. And to your surprise and to my surprise as well, I've also met bankers and banks which refuse at times to give up on the business of onboarding customers if they don't have a PAN or an Aadhaar. If they don't have an Aadhaar, they don't go for, they don't onboard them. But there are multiple other documents which can be used, even your LPG gas connection or an electricity bill or telephone bill, which you can easily authenticate and use it. Now, the second part is about utility bills. The good part about that is also when you're authenticating temporary residences. So if you are staying on a rental on a particular property, although the name or the registration will not be in your name, but the email ID or the contact number registered with the supplier will be yours, because you will be paying the electricity bills, you will be paying, and you like to receive the OTPs on your numbers. So that's also an indirect way of authenticating temporary residences where you are staying on rentals. Right? So it's primarily kind of the breadth of coverage that you have, so you can use any kind of document and authenticate that still, and then move on.
So are you directly connected with the APIs, or you are using any third-party APIs via somebody to
So directly to the APIs.
directly have connected?
Can we wrap up, judges?
Yeah, last question. Yeah. So on the EWS side, I think the solutions is really relevant for the banks and the NBFCs or the financial institutions. I think the time you will take, you're projecting like 2019 to complete come with an entire stack, right?
Yeah. So it's
Don't you feel it will be
one
too
and a
late
half to
for you, and a lot of other people, a lot of other companies also trying to.
Yeah. So it's kind of a step-by-step process where you'll be onboarding or giving out different sets of services over a period of time to build the entire application altogether. But it's kind of a process of thorough research and then further analytics on top of it. Because if I were to predict something, I cannot do it basis 2 months of data. I need a considerable time series of data in order to analyze that and further give out credible results. Perfect.
Okay, thank you. We have a minute or two before the next presentation starts, so I'd like to go into the audience and get a few reactions from the audience. Do we have mics in the audience? Volunteers? We have mics in the audience? Can we get a mic to Mr. Ray Teo in the front row? We'd like to ask him a question. Mr. Teo, I'm asking you from behind you. I'm behind you. Here, on stage, sir. Here. Yeah. So you've heard a few opinions in the morning, and you've seen a few presentations already. So one of the big things in India about startups and businesses is a cultural problem. We see failure as the end of the world. In other countries, Silicon Valley in particular, entrepreneurs have failed to actually celebrate it, and failure is seen as a simple stepping stone to succeeding in your next venture. In India, failure and bankruptcy are seen as the end of the world, and he's a failed entrepreneur and he's a failed businessman. How has your country managed to go from one culture, which is also traditional, into a more open culture which accepts failure as a part of life?
Well, I think we are still, no, we are still not there yet, I must
Not
say. Failure in Asian culture, not just in India, I think general in Asia, coming from an Asian family, you know that failure is not an option. It's almost a case where I can tell you a real story in Singapore. Getting 95 or getting 89 out of 100 is not good.
It's called Asian fail.
Yes, it's Asian fail.
Under
Now,
90.
Getting 95 out of 100 is expected. Getting 99 out of 100, why can't you just make one more point and you get a perfect score? Now, this is a typical Asian culture, and I think we really need to learn how to fail, and which is why I think I don't think we are not there at the stage where we can say that we are accepting failure very well, but at least we are creating a culture of experimentation. Now, once you brand the name experimentation, then you are probably able to fail a little bit more than just working on something and fail. So with the whole setting up of innovation labs in Singapore and the whole idea of creating experiments, we allow people to fail a little bit more. And as a regulator, we need to send a very strong signal to our financial institutions to say that it's okay as long as there is no systemic risk.
Is Mr. P.S. Srikanth of Hyderabad Angels here? Yeah. Can we get the mic? Thank you. So would you invest in somebody who's failed 3 times? An entrepreneur comes to you, pitches to you and says, I've failed 3 times. Now I want your money.
Yeah, so I mean, we value that experience.
Okay.
We've not come across something like that who's failed 3 times yet.
Or
We've
twice
been
or
around
once?
for like 4 or 5 years now. But as I said, any experience is valuable, and we would definitely